motivational speaker came to our school, and I'll never forget. They told us that a pilot is a driver, only that it's for a different vehicle.
Do you know how to ride a bicycle?
Yes.
Okay, you can become a pilot.
Yeah. So in class, when I tell kids that, buses can go using electricity, I looked like a fool. The dean allowed me to do internship at my own company. Then, the other Friday, I came with a friend. The other Friday, Jesse came with a friend. Then the friends drop out. Then we meet back again. And that's how Attic was born.
I know this story and I want you to tell us more. But when you went there first, what are some of the things that you saw and you were like, oh my God, I wish this for my country?
Funny enough, the first thing I saw wasn't technological. Let me tell you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Thomas Obam, and I'm the host of Young and Daring. It's such an honor to have all of you, and a joy also to have my guest on set. I don't know if you all are ready for my guest because, I've been privileged to know him for quite some time. I didn't know this until way later on that we actually went to the same university. Now, one of the things that are really, really interesting about this human being is that, when he was a kid, when he got toys, he would disassemble the toy, then assemble it again. Maybe he will tell us a little bit more about that story. And then from roaming the streets of Rome to Koilel boys. Oh boy. Today my guest is Innocent Magothe. Innocent, how are you doing, man? What's funny? Why are you laughing? Is it true that you actually used to disassemble and assemble cars when you were a kid?
Yeah. So I had a very boring childhood.
Yeah.
Up to date I can't play Bano, I can't play Mabrigan, I can't do any of those things.
That's something very easy to teach somebody, eh? So I can teach you after
I'm already
this.
old, I can't learn. but the thing is, I had such a boring childhood, but I think I thank the Lord in the world for letting me grow up like that. So I really didn't have any fun childhood. I would spend a lot of time with my toys, which were electric cars, electric trains, electric helicopters, and everything in between. So what I will do, I will get them, dismantle them. Then when other kids are playing, I would be assembling them again. And that was my entire first 3 years of my life.
When you say boring, boring and lonely are not synonymous things. Because, you were going to school, for example. You'd hang out with kids when you're in school. That's not boring. So what is boring? What is this something that you think that if was added to your childhood, it would have made it fun and not boring?
Looking back to how I behave now, I think a bit of my social anxiety comes from not interacting with as many people back then. So if I had a lot more kids, people around me, maybe, just maybe, I'd have been a lot more social. Because what I realize, having grown up now, I'm a lot more social with people I care about. Like I'm wild when it's people I know for some time. But then it's not a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think if that had changed, maybe, just maybe, I would be.
But I have been privileged to know you in a certain way, and I know you're a little bit brainy. Even kids didn't want to hang out with somebody with brains like yours. They didn't want to hang out with somebody with brains like yours. And okay, maybe that was now. Where were you in primary school?
I went to 2 primary schools. I went to Dangerous Academy, and then I went to Consolata Primary.
That's in Muranga.
That is in Nyeri.
In Nyeri, not Muranga.
Yes.
And then after that, I know this story and I want you to tell us more. You finished, did you have a dream high school when you were in primary school?
Yes, I did.
Which was?
Muranga Boys.
Did you end up in Muranga Boys?
No.
Why? You had the brains to go to Muranga. I think most probably you must have had the marks. Why didn't you go to Muranga High?
Wow. So let me just start this story back then, yeah?
Yeah.
So in all fairness, I didn't have lonely childhood because I didn't choose to. It's because I didn't have kids around me. Where I was back then, it was a lonely area, so it was just me, my toys. Then my mom goes to work, comes back in the evening, I sleep early, wake up, same thing happens. And then at some point, I was moved to my grandma's just to be able to be a lot more social.
Yeah.
When I was taken to my grandma's, something very interesting happened. They thought that they should take me to school, not to learn, but to become social. So I wasn't expected by the school to go to classes because I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
I wasn't expected to go to classes. I wasn't expected to stay in class. I was allowed to do whatever. The idea was, can this boy get to mingle with other children, and maybe, just maybe, when he actually starts school, he will become a lot more social, a lot more jovial.
Yeah.
Um, you said I was brainy, and I don't know whether that's the right word because
I mean, I have been privileged to interact with you in some social setups that decisions had to be made, and just the way somebody makes a decision, you can know, okay, maybe this is something maybe I wouldn't have thought about it this
yeah,
way. It just tells you that okay, maybe his brains are a little bit more than the usual. The kawaida person would have just said, let's do this
yeah.
this way, but so that's why I am assuming, but I mean, it's not really an assumption. I've also worked with you, so I know.
Okay, yeah. So what happened was, in my playing with kids, I sat for exams, and I was number two in a class of 50 something. So my mom was like, I mean, he's number two. What happens to the kids who pass? They go to class one. So that's how I ended up in class one. So I don't want to say I skipped nursery, but I did 1 year of nursery instead of 3 years. Actually, not 1 year. It's about 9 months, 9 months, 10 months of nursery school, and went to class one. Did class one, class two, class three. Same thing happened. It will be either, if I'm not number one, I'm number two. And as I was telling you the other day, I used to fail one question always, either write in words or write in numbers. That number one question in maths, it's the question I always failed. Then that continued for some time. I went through my entire primary school, shifted schools for other reasons. At class 6, went to Consolata Primary. Class 7, class 8, I did my KCSE and got 340.
KCPE.
KCPE, oh my
Yeah.
God. KCPE, and got 340 marks. I had my school of choice back then, which was either I was going to go to Muranga Boys as a first choice or St. Mary's as a second choice. I was called to Muranga Boys. But because I had never gotten anything below 400,
Yeah.
I thought it
It's
was
the
wise
pride. The pride was calling.
I thought it was wise to repeat.
Yeah.
So I repeated class 8 because I didn't get 400. But I mean, looking back now, I don't think I was wise enough because I had been called to the school I wanted to go to anyway. So that happened. Repeated class 8. But I played a bit too much because I had been to the same school. All the teachers knew me. I knew everything. So I think I took my second year as a joke. So I was ever joking around. So I still didn't get 400. I got 384. But at that point, I had gone to Italy.
Yeah.
So me going to Italy had exposed me to a lot more things. So when I came back, I had just been I had just gotten my marks. I was going to go to high school in about 3 days.
Yeah.
So when I came, I'm being asked, so what do you want? The thought of repeating was somewhere in my head. Then I'm like, okay, I'm here, Koelel, it's just another school. So I didn't even dispute whether I should go to Koelel or not, whether we need to look for other schools or not. I just went to Koelel High School. I mean, it's a proper school. I wouldn't say it's not a proper school. It's actually a really good school. Did my 4 years. And when I was in Form 3, I think my life changed forever. When I was in class 3, a motivational speaker came to our school.
To Koilel.
To Koilel.
Koilel is in Nakuru.
Yeah. So we compete. Ideally they compete with Utumishi Academy. Yeah. So a motivational speaker came to our school, and I'll never forget. They told us that a pilot is a driver, only that it's for a different vehicle.
And you had initially wanted
I
to
wanted to
become
be a pilot.
a
I was
pilot. I mean,
so
when you
sure.
finished high school, that was, I mean, you're gonna go to, pilot school.
Yes, but I can bet over my life within the next 3 years for sure I'm becoming a pilot. I mean, I
Do,
won't.
do you know how to ride a bicycle?
Yes.
Okay,
I
you can
want.
become a pilot.
Yeah, I want to do piloting for fun. I've watched a few movies, and I think I'll get to Mark Cuban level.
You,
Yeah.
you
So
know, I mean, this is a top tier secret. In high school, your nickname was Billionaire.
yeah.
How did that come about?
Wow. Anyway, so I mean, I had gone to Italy a couple of times.
Yeah.
I had gone to Italy I think by the time I was joining high school, I had gone to Italy about 9 times. So I had seen a lot of things. So electric vehicles, electric cars, electric trains. I had seen houses that are smart lifts. So in class, when I tell kids that buses can go using electricity, I looked like a fool. And I think we were talking about it the other day. My culture shock was downwards, not upwards.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, when you kids haven't traveled. Um, so that was the culture shock. But I think out of that, I had very weird dreams in terms of what I want to achieve. And most of them required me having a lot of money. So out of that, kids just started calling me billionaire. And I saw somebody call me that on my Instagram stories a week ago, and I was like,
Did you
"Umetumwa na
reach out to
nani?"
them? Maybe most probably they were from the same high school.
That's it doesn't make sense because it's somebody I've met after, and they're way older than me.
Ah,
So
so
I
most
think
probably they're just manifesting on your behalf. Now let's go back. This motivational speaker comes to school, tells you that, you know what, being a pilot, nah. You wanted to become a pilot. Now you had a mind shift.
yeah.
What did your mind shift to?
Yeah, so for me, I was like, okay, I still want to work with planes for sure. And again, going back to my childhood, I had electric cars, electric helicopters, such things. Those,
Yeah.
the remote controlled ones. Yeah. So I knew somehow. I think that's what made me decide that I want to become a pilot. So I decided, si nilikuwa natoanisha helicopter nikiwa mtoto. Now I'm going to be dismantling real aeroplanes. Yeah. So I wanted to become an aeronautical engineer. So when I finished Form 4, I was sure I'm becoming an aeronautical engineer. I mean, I got an A, I think, A or A minus of 77 points. Yeah. So I knew I was going to become an aeronautical engineer. Luckily or unluckily, I stand corrected, but I don't think there's a school that offers it as a degree. I think you have to start from diploma, then move on to another country, because even the person I know who's an aeronautical engineer had to do it in Ethiopia, not in Kenya.
I've seen quite a number of aviation colleges in
I
Kenya.
doubt they do. I doubt they
only
do
offer
aeronautical.
whatever, I don't know.
I think it's smaller versions of it. So what happened is I went to Italy again
After high school.
after high school, yeah. And when I was in Italy, I got admitted to two schools, Università di Roma. That's the University of Rome, and I think I had the admission letter for the University of Munich. And God has His own ways, because for Italy, the reason I didn't join university immediately was I had to come back to Kenya, reapply the visa, because I was there on tourist visa. So I had to come back, reapply, go on student visa. For Germany, instead, it was the other way around. I could apply, but I needed to do 2 years of German language first. So I came back to Kenya, because even if I was going to do German language, it made more sense to just do it in Kenya. There's the Goethe Institute.
Yeah.
Do it in Kenya, then I'll go there and join for first year. Yeah. So I came back to Kenya to figure out, do I want to do this? In the entire of that story, my aunt asks me, by the way, have you thought of Strathmore? I was like, I'll check. I don't know what courses they offer. I had an offer from UON as well. I had a couple of offers. But then one of my mentors, who is also an aeronautical engineer now, told me that they were starting to see a shift in that space, where a lot of robotics automation was starting to happen. So what they were doing with their hands is now being done using robots.
Yeah.
So he was like, instead of doing aeronautical engineering, where the world is going in the next 15 years, do computer science, then major in robotics. Then you can still come to the same field and do the same things you want to do. Yeah. So that's how I ended up in Strathmore. So I did the exams, I passed, joined Strathmore. But again, I mean, I think we'll reach here, but still haven't practiced computer science a single bit.
You can't just say you haven't practiced. I was in Strathmore. I was also very lucky to go to Strathmore, so it's nice. We're Stratizens on this table.
Yeah.
Shout out to all my Strathmore people. Strathmore is a decent school, honestly. I mean, I can say without a doubt.
Is a decent school, or is the only decent school? Anyway,
What do you have to say about that?
I choose to keep
Are
quiet.
you throwing shade or what? But anyway, I remember very well that, I mean, when I went into Strathmore, the idea I wanted to go and do BBIT, because in my head I was like, okay, this idea of merging business and IT is a really cool idea. So I wanted to do that. But then
Yeah.
I had been called to UON, to University of Nairobi. So then I had a couple of my friends who told me, if you go to University of Nairobi, it will take you quite a while before you actually finish school.
Yeah.
So why don't you just go and try Strathmore? Obviously, I knew very well that maybe my parents may not afford Strathmore, but I went ahead and tried out. So by the time I was getting the how do you call them, like the acceptance letter, they had accepted me to do BBIT, but I still didn't have the fees, so I delayed a bit. The next time I went, they told me that, you can only enroll in telecommunications.
Yeah.
So I did telecommunications. And yeah, the only thing I've done with telecommunications is that when I finished campus, I founded a telecoms company. That's all.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, all my lecturers, sorry. At least we are doing this. But anyway, so you do the entrance exam, you get into Strathmore
Yeah.
to do ICS.
ICS, yes.
Informa-
Informatics and computer science.
And computer science.
Yes.
How was it? Is it what you because you had always been dreaming of aeronautical engineering.
Yeah.
Then you go into computer science. How was it? Did you feel like, okay, I'm in the right place or I'm out of place?
It was a mixture of both,
Yeah.
genuinely. Number one was when I got in, I wanted to do machine learning in the first semester. I want to start practicing this aeronautical engineering thing early. Then I look at the curriculum, machine learning, AI is in fourth year. I'm like, 3 years. But I mean, I'm already in campus. I mean, I understand the journey as to why I need to do more things. But then again, in third year, similar to what happened in Form 3, in third year, my life changes again. And the reason this time round my life changed was we did 2 semesters of entrepreneurship. And for every semester, you do a project, right? So you do a whole semester, do a project, another semester, do a project. And they were fully working projects. They were fully working apps, fully working websites. Now I've done entrepreneurship. I sat back and asked myself so many questions. Why do I keep dumping projects that are actual businesses? Because from what I'm learning in entrepreneurship, looks like I've been building solid businesses anyway.
What is that business that you had already done, which you thought maybe this is a solid business? If I combine it with the knowledge I've learned in entrepreneurship, I could actually take it further.
I think I had built a couple of management systems, school management. I had a restaurant management system, which was actually used by a hotel somewhere. So I think that
Really?
changed my entire view of my computer science and then how entrepreneurship was coming into it. But then, and I think it's such a full circle because besides everything else, I did 4 semesters of German language at Strathmore.
Yeah, because they used to have an optional language you could do.
Yes. So it
you
was
did
either
German.
I do Chinese, French, Spanish, or German.
Yeah.
I knew Italian. I can speak full Italian. So I was like, do I need to do Spanish or French? No. So I did German again. But a part of it was because I thought if I do German after I finish with my robotics dream, I can go back to Germany and be a computer engineer at Airbus.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet.
What?
Yeah.
Airbus.
Yeah.
Okay, just
So,
continue.
Yeah. So my third year again changed everything because that's when we did our entrepreneurship course. And then at the end of my third year, we are given letters by the school to go apply for internship. I was like, wait, guys. I've done 2 semesters of entrepreneurship. Why are you asking me to go get employed? So me and 2 other friends challenged the school, and I think that is this way. I think I am so sure I wouldn't be where I am without Strathmore. That one, I can bet my life on it. Because that moment brought together everything I've achieved after. Because the dean actually agreed.
Who was the dean then?
I
George?
can't remember.
You don't remember?
Yeah, but the dean allowed me to do internship at my own company then. And we did it with my two classmates. So we were three of us working on. So what we did, we were looking for clients and we were building websites and apps for them. So we did that for 3 months. We passed our internship. By the time I was done, I was so sure I'm not getting employed. I was so sure I'm not writing code again. And I was so sure I'm becoming an entrepreneur. But then one of the other things I was very, very, very sure about, I was sure I wanted to help other students who don't have the privilege I had to become entrepreneurs. Yes. So that one I had seen the light.
In Form 3. And so even when you were...
In year 3.
No, in year 3 of,
Yes,
of
Strathmore.
campus.
Yeah.
And actually, it's very interesting. Maybe this is just a random question. At that time, I think it was called work-based learning or whatever Strathmore calls
Yes,
it.
work-based learning, yes.
How... Because you need a supervisor. You're employed in your own company. You'd have to write a report. Who wrote that report?
So, very interesting. Strathmore asked me to get a successful entrepreneur as my supervisor. So I got a friend of mine called Gideon to be my supervisor. He's a big shot in the industry. So he was my supervisor. Then I obviously had a supervisor from school. And let me tell you how full of a circle life can be. Because we were working in our own companies, we didn't have an office. We couldn't even afford a co-working space. So we were building whatever we were doing from my house. Eric was doing from his place. Emmanuel was doing from his home. COVID happened at that time. So the evaluation was done on Zoom. Like Zoom came at the perfect time.
Really?
Yes, because when we were doing our internship, that's when COVID hit. And even all the other students, even the others who had been gotten employed in other companies, all of them were working from
So
home.
they were all working from home.
Yes.
So it was,
So it just
you're not
worked.
missing out that, this friend of yours calls you in the morning
Nope.
that, I'm going to work.
Nope.
We are all working from home.
We were all working from home.
Yeah.
So that I think changed. I was very sure what I wanted to do. So when I went back to school in fourth year, I was like, you know what? I've not joined a club ever. It's my time to join a club. So I joined the Strathmore Business Club as the head of operations. Yeah, the head of operations. And on Thursdays, they still do have flea markets where they allow students to sell their items. And that was my first business. I was selling socks. So I would go to Gikomba, buy socks at
IT
17.
selling socks.
Bwanani,
I mean, and you could have even
extracurricular.
told me, I built an online platform that I could sell socks. You would go to Gikomba, buy socks, and bring them to the flea market.
Yes.
Why socks?
Because the way the flea market worked, you want to sell to your fellow students. So I can't sell them the apps, I can't sell them websites, I can only sell physical products. So if you look at most of the students at the flea markets, they either sell food stuff, like snacks, or they sell clothes. But the clothes are majorly for girls. So I would sell socks do the maths. I was buying the socks at 17 bob a pair.
17 bob.
I was selling the socks. It's Strathmore. I was selling the socks at 200 bob a pair.
Oh, Lord. That's 83 shillings
Yeah.
profit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's how I paid my bills, in most of my bills. Anyway, so that moment, I think, opened another view where I realized all these students don't know entrepreneurship. Because we kept being told, I don't know, balance sheet, profit and loss, all these things. I was like, I think I know what I want to do. So that triggered me to join the Strathmore Business School, joined as the head of operations, and I told them, I was asked what I'd want to achieve within Strathmore Business School, and all thanks to Kevin for allowing me to, thrive in however way, yeah. I was like, I think a lot of students don't know how to run business. I think a lot of students would want to become entrepreneurs, but they don't know where to start. So we started the first ever student-run incubation lab and called it StrathCube. And that's how StrathCube was born. Did that for now my third year and my fourth year, I think. So, but for the 4th year, because of COVID, we did it from home. But so what we would do is we would bring successful entrepreneurs. So we brought a couple of big shot entrepreneurs to speak to the students on their experience. But then how we did it is we introduced some sort of curriculum, for lack of a better word. So you would graduate with a certificate. Again, COVID hit, so it didn't really work. Then we graduated. The day I graduated was a Wednesday. On Thursday, I was invited to an event by KNCCI to some co-working space was being launched in Kilimani.
Yeah.
And that's how Startinev started, because when I was in that space, I kept hearing people saying, young people need to get into this entrepreneurship space. They don't have the resources, they don't have the support. I'm like, so what you're saying is what I've been doing in Strathmore can be done out here.
Yeah.
But then the initiative I had started was called Strathcube, so I couldn't call it Strathcube outside here. It couldn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it only made sense when it's in Strathmore.
Yeah, so myself and Jesse, we were seated at that event. Let me tell you a story of how Startinev started. We were seated at that event. At the back, we took a book.
This is at the event of the co-working space that
Yes,
was being launched in
yes,
Kilimani.
yes.
Okay.
We wrote all the names that are to do with entrepreneurship, startups, innovation, funding, fundraising. No, we started by combining our names. It didn't work.
So that would have been Jesse or
Bro.
Karanja.
Bro, wow.
Ni jina yako mbaya.
Nani yake.
Yeah.
So
you were trying to look for a name to name this
thing.
Yeah, this thing that you guys had just
So
gotten.
we wrote all the things we think that we will do. We realized there are 3 things we would do. Number 1, we would be able to support startups. Number 2, we were going to enable innovation. And number 3, we were going to do events. Because at the end of the day, all these people meet at events. So startups, innovation, events. That's how Startinev started. Playing back a bit, about 3 months before that, we had joined a program called the Techstars Startup Weekend, where it's an event, a 54-hour hackathon. So we were in the organizing committee.
Yeah.
So what happened? The first ever Startup Weekend we did was done by Startinev. And the reason that happened was because we were looking for a venue. No, there's a co-working space being launched.
Yeah.
So we talked to them. They allowed us.
They allowed you to use the venue.
The Startup Weekend was their first event as well.
Really?
Yes. So it's been such a full circle for me, because everything has been coming together each time.
And sorry, just being freshmen from campus, and obviously you're trying to organize an event for people who are entrepreneurs, people who are already out there. Did you feel a bit of an imposter syndrome?
Yes and no. And again, I'll attribute it to 2 things. I'll attribute the yes to all my friends were now going for interviews at Microsoft and Safaricom.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Then there was me in my sweatpants trying to build a startup to support other startups.
Yeah.
It's not just a startup. It was a startup to support other startups. But then again, going back to 2 things, my going to Italy as a kid and my going to Strathmore covered a lot of the fears I had.
Yeah.
So I was pretty sure I was going to hack this somehow. So we did the event, the Startup Weekend, and it happened, yeah? Again, another full circle moment happened, because after Startup Weekend happened, we would meet every Friday with a friend of mine called Director Mushiri. So myself, Director Mushiri, and Director Jesse. So Director Mushiri was the head of youth at KNCCI, countrywide. Jesse was the head of youth at KNCCI in Nairobi only. So we would meet every Friday.
Just the 3 of you?
Just the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Then we were like, every Friday we know we will meet at the co-working space, have a chat. Every Friday. About the 4th Friday, Director Mushiri came with a friend. The other Friday, I came with a friend. The other Friday, Jesse came with a friend. Then the friends drop out. Then we meet back again. And that's how Attic was born.
Really?
Since then, up to date, at least 50 young people meet every Friday.
Yeah, and I've been privileged. I met you because of Attic,
Yes.
had it not been for Attic. I didn't know that that's how it started, just
That's how Attic
3
was
folks
born.
coming together on a Friday morning. And up to date, I've been part of Attic for now 2 years.
And yeah, and it didn't have a name. It was the KNCCI Nairobi Youth Chapter. Then I remember Mushiri calling me. I mean, I think I've met really good people along the way, and I think I'll talk about that a bit later. I remember Mushiri calling me and asking me, what do you want to achieve with Attic? In a perfect world, what do you want it to be? I was like, I want every young person to reach their level best. So Attic, the top of a mountain.
So who came up with that name, Attic?
I came up with the name at some random night. So Director Moshiri told me the next Friday we meet, we come up with a name. We come with a name. So we had discussed, we wanted youths to be better. That's how Attic, now the pinnacle of a mountain. So that's why Attic is called Attic. So it means the top of a mountain.
I mean, how I wish everyone who's an Attic member get to understand how profound this name is.
Yeah.
Attic. That's really, really cool. And this has been rolling. Were you the first focal point? Were you the first, like, more or less the guy who was meant to take care of?
Yeah.
And that was not your first instance in leadership, even though it gave you a chance to be a leader. Had you been a leader before in any front?
I was a prefect all my primary school.
Tell me, what is, because I think there's something that, what's your idea of God and religion and taking care of your soul or going to church and all that kind of thing? What's your idea of it? Like, how do you take it?
As far as I can think, you can't do it otherwise. And if you really listen to my story, it's been things happening outside my control. Yeah, that motivational speaker coming to talk about why pilots are normal drivers. Me joining Strathmore just because I had come back to Kenya to apply for the visa again. I sit back and I don't see in any way how that is not influenced outside myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that it's not people, I don't think anybody could convince me that God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I won't lie, I don't show it off as hard, but the people who know me so well, I think I'm quite.
No, I mean, I think it's true, because the idea of people showing out, I go to church or I go for mass every day, or, I'd have my rosary dangling on my neck all the time. I mean, because I think people take it very lightly. Just the mere fact that you say, I believe in God, that's a commitment of a lifetime, because that's the greatest commitment you can ever make, really. So I mean, I know most of my friends also are very reluctant when it comes to showing that side of them as a Christian. I mean, there was one day, the company I work for, wrote an article about me, and everybody was calling me, Obam, we didn't know that you also go for mass. I was like, yeah, I do, guys. But anyway, that one, let's shelve it aside, you being in YCS and whatever. Let's go back to Startinev and Attic. Now, you mentioned that when you had gone to Italy 8 or 9 times, there are things that you had seen, close to 10, 15 years ago, which actually haven't even been done
up to date.
Here. If you look at our infrastructure, our transport system,
Man, we are behind. Oh my God!
When you got to the first time you ever went there, what is the one thing you saw and just shook you? Obviously, after some time, you got, you were like, yeah. I mean, you enter the tram and you swipe your card and that's it. But when you went there first, what are some of the things that you saw and you were like, oh my God, I wish this for my country?
Funny enough, the first thing I saw wasn't technological. Let me tell you. When I landed at the Fiumicino airport in Italy, and I spread out my hand, apparently people kiss on the cheeks as greetings. I think, man,
you are some guy from Nyeri.
So nienda kan metandaza mkono. Oh my God.
So the peck on the cheek was
I was like, unani gay? No, it's men. It's men. No, it's not. It's like across genders.
Yeah.
Oh, men, women, it's a peck. Yeah, bana. Why?
It was very hard for you.
I think that was the biggest culture shock. So these are the things. I won't lie that the other things were as big. Yeah. But I think it's because I was a kid, so I had not seen. I mean, even in terms of tech, I had not seen a lot of tech per se.
Yeah.
So the things that hit me was tunasalimiananga na mkono. Why are you hugging me and pecking me as a man?
Yeah.
I think that was the one that stuck here. But I think besides that, how much people follow rules. You know, if the traffic lights are red, the pedestrian is red, whether there is a car or not, you can't cross. You can't cross at a place where there is no zebra crossing. Let me tell you, if I'm coming to you and the zebra crossing is there, we go like this, I cross, I come over. I can't cross the road.
I mean, you just talk to me there, like just shout, you know.
So those
But
things
anyway.
shocked me. How poster works. So somebody comes, rings the door, you see them, they drop the letter in the mailbox. Then you come down from the house, pick it up. Like it was the subtle things, but they were so subtle, but they stuck with me for life. I think they stuck with me for life. They are the things that I don't up to date. I think the reason I do some of the things the way I do, at times in my head, if it's not logical, it just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. But because I'm like, why aren't you thinking logically first? So I think there are things that just stuck with me.
And these are things which we can actually implement in our African countries, right?
I mean, we need new leaders for us to do that.
I was in January, I was in Rwanda for a work retreat, and guys follow rules the same way there. Like, you don't just dump trash anywhere. I saw borders stopping at traffic light. For me, that was I was in an African country.
We as Kenyans, we have a systemic problem, and I'll say this without fear of contradiction. We can say our government is corrupt all we want, but all of us are as corrupt. It's only that ours is 50 bobs.
Yeah.
It trickles down and up, yeah?
Yeah.
So I think we have a systemic problem. I mean, I don't support corruption. I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying for us to fully achieve some of these things, I think it's an entire generational overhaul. And I think that's why I really love what is happening in the country right now. I think it's starting to come up.
We're going to talk
Yeah.
about what's happening in the country right now a little bit later. I want to finish up with this story of Startinev and Attic, especially. You know, the podcast we are in is called Young and Daring. It's, young people who say that, you know what, it's not enough for me to wait to be called the leader of tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. You wait for tomorrow, it will never come. And you see young people who are actually doing really, really cool stuff with themselves. And one of the greatest inspiration I had was Alexander the Great. The guy took over from his dad when he was 20. He died when he was 32, but he had conquered the whole of the Persian Empire. So I was like, why should young people wait that, one day I'll grow up and then I'll take that position when actually guys can start wherever they are? I mean, you're already doing really cool things when you're in campus. And I know many people. I remember there was a time I was telling you that I think I wasted lots of my time when I was in campus. Like, at that time, there's no class. Let's go take a shot.
Nairobi West.
Let's go to Nairobi.
Come on, Michael.
Let's go to, there's a crew here behind the camera called, the guy must probably, but anyway, so the whole idea why you began Startinev and Attic was that you had been so privileged to see all these things that you had seen, and you had said, you know what, I'm not gonna go alone. I'll stretch out my hand so that I can hold other people and go with them. How has that journey been so far?
And I think I'll attribute it to, again, my journey. Like I've gone to Italy, I think 12 times now.
They should give you a passport now.
I know.
I mean, do you know the Pope?
The ambassador of Italy. Anyway, but I'll actually talk about that specific part. And that's why I think anybody who tells me there's no God, like we exist within ourselves, man, I have too many stories. I'll talk about the embassy of Italy. and how I think everything is so much connected. But before I get there, 8 out of the 12 times I've been to Italy, I used a different country each time. And the reason that was happening, my folks wanted me to see as much as I could. So this time around, I did twice Kenya, Italy direct. I did Kenya, Ethiopia, Italy. I did Kenya, Egypt, Italy. I think I did Kenya, Greece. So there's no single time I went.
Directly to Fiumicino.
Yeah, and it was because they really wanted me to see.
To see.
So, and if I do Egypt, I'd be there for 3 days, 2 days. But one of the Egypt trips was very funny because we were the first ones to get the new generational passports then.
Yeah.
So I had my new one. So when I got to Egypt, they said I had a fake passport. So the plane that was supposed to go to Italy left me, but I wasn't alone. I was with
all the people who had the new generation.
No, it was my family, about 2 of us. Yeah. So we were left. So because there was no other plane going to Italy, we had to stay in Egypt for 2 days. But after the plane left, they confirmed that there weren't fake passports. They just introduced the new passports in Kenya. So I spent 2 days in Egypt on somebody's bill.
Really?
So I saw a lot more. So I think the fact that every time I went to Italy, I was in a different country. I saw too many different cultures. I won't mention the countries, but from racism to being really embraced, to speaking in Swahili and thinking the Mzungu is not hearing, and they were hearing.
Yeah. We were in a kibanda just before this, and the ladies there were speaking Luo. Most probably they thought that I couldn't hear what they were saying. I could, and I actually spoke to one of them, and she was looking at me. She was like, "Hey, hata wewe." Like, bro, what's wrong with me?
It happened to me in Italy. Me and my cousin, we were saying things that were not very pleasant about a hot guy. And then he replied in Swahili.
Oh, but you're a courteous man. I don't think you'd say the kind of things
but it wasn't so good as well.
Yeah.
But apparently that guy had lived in Kenya as a priest for 17 years.
Ooh. Yeah, and then for them when they come, because their ministries with the people, they have to learn the local language.
So he replied in Swahili. Oh my God.
You turn back and you're like, "Huku ni wapi?"
Where am I? Yeah, so that happened.
Okay, so now let's go back to the real deal. I mean, you mentioned that, one of the reasons you began Startinev was because you wanted to hold people's hands.
Yeah.
I want to know, where are you at with this journey? Like, how has it been? Are there, because I know a couple of people who you have actually influenced them directly, by just appreciating what they do. And especially, so at Attic, one of the pillars they have there is, asantes. That, when you give somebody business, they come back and say asante, for other people to, to more or less see how much business has been transacted and all that. And when I came to Attic for like 7-8 weeks, you always bought something from somebody. Had it been, somebody say they're a digital content creator, you give them some job. This guy says they're selling underwears, you have bought. This other person says that, I am selling trousers, you buy. I mean, you have, I saw that in you. You actually went out of yourself to help all these people. So I want to know, how, I mean, you do this intentionally because you just want to help these young budding entrepreneurs in their journey. And I want you to give me a story more or less of, somebody, you don't have to mention the name, or you could mention the name of the company. You have seen them grow from grass to grace, as they call it.
I won't mention names, but I'll digress a bit. Yeah, there's something I keep saying. If God really, really, really wanted us to thrive alone, angeuda tu dunia, how many are we? 52 million. 52 million small islands for each of us to live on their own. Mm-hmm. The fact that we exist, all of us together, it's not a mistake. It's not by chance. That's number one. Number two, the people we meet. I mean, you could have met so many other people, but somehow you met me.
Yeah.
It's not by mistake. It's not a mistake that you meet the people you meet, whether they do you good or bad. I'll talk about the bad stuff later, whether they do you good or bad. It is never a mistake meeting people. And one of the things I'm Kikuyu, I'm learning from one of my closest friends
Yeah.
is you you gain nothing by growing alone. And so how I've translated that is, like at Attic, I'll buy things. I don't want to say just for the sake, but because I was selling socks in Strathmore, and at times, somebody buying that pair of socks is in between me kuinama and sleeping when I'm full. It was my shopping. It was my fare home.
Yeah.
So I know what it means for somebody to have a product or a service or a skill and you're not utilizing it and it's not paying you. So at times I even pay extra just because I know it could mean life to them. I won't give examples, but I've had people come tell me that purchase I had a hospital bill. I've heard all types of stories. So I do it I'd rather do it than have that money on my phone.
Yeah,
It's
you'd
not
rather
helping.
pay
I'd
more. You've
rather.
made me pay a boda boda more. You've made me pay
Oh
tip
yeah.
more. You've made me. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather that money is in somebody else's pocket. I'm not a spendthrift. I'm also not so good with money in terms of how I spend. Especially when it comes to gadgets, I'm a total throw. I
Yeah, you
spend
spend on gadgets a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
It has a story to it. My first phone was an iPhone.
Your first ever phone was an iPhone.
Yeah.
Very few people say that, eh? My first phone was a Nokia 1110, the button one. I mean, my my mom had used it for quite a long time, so I think she got another one, and she was like, "Yeah, you can use this one."
Yeah.
So
So
I just play Snake with it, like nothing
the
else.
difference is when I got my first phone, I was in Italy, so getting an iPhone was easier.
I was like my Nokia 1110. Use.
Yeah, so you can get them. So the things I spend on a bit more, but I think I don't regret spending on people.
Give me an instance of somebody you've seen grow, like from the first instance that when you guys met, and they were just somebody who entrepreneurship was an idea in their head, but you have seen them grow from from their idea. I mean, actually, now that you more or less help with innovation, there's the design thinking process. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a proper company. I mean, especially if you want to scale it, things have to be really in order. Give me a story of somebody you have seen actually grow from that, and you've seen them, and you've seen where they are now, and you're like, wow, entrepreneurship actually works.
There are too many. There are too many. I mean,
Just a random one. I mean, whichever it is that you can pick up.
I won't necessarily mention anyone, but I think I've seen some young people build really cool stuff, and they're now making millions. I know young people who I met when they couldn't do anything. Right now, they're driving the biggest of cars. And it's been over a span of what, 3-4 years. So I don't really want to mention names.
Okay, no
But
worries.
I can tell you for sure, it's in the thousands. People who have touched one or the other. It's a lot of
But
people.
you as a person, how does it make you feel when you see somebody who genuinely you have actually stretched out your hand to help them, and now they're even doing better than you? How does it make you feel?
Somebody asked. I mean, earlier today we were making a joke with somebody, and somebody asked, if Innocent died today, would any of you feel bad? One of the people who are there, who happens to be my friend, said, and I think this will stick in my head for life. One of my friends said, I quit my job three months ago, and I quit because I saw what Innocent has achieved in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Emotional, but I mean, it shows how much we need to exist in people's lives, and there's something a friend of mine says: when you're building your startup, build it publicly. I'm not building a startup. I'm helping people. I help publicly and I do it intentionally. It's because me helping somebody gives somebody else the thought that they should also help. Yeah.
And when we're in this business of helping people, you've met quite a number of people. I mean, there is nowhere I show up with you and you don't get to say hi to somebody. Like, you've met many people. Tell me, how important is it for somebody who's trying to be an entrepreneur? Because I've seen you do this quite a lot. Be in a position, even if they're shy, they're afraid or whatever, to put themselves out there in, networking events, build friendships. How important is it, especially for an entrepreneur?
No man is an island, and we don't we don't exist alone. And I'll give you a funny story. You've gotten me here, so I'll just say it. I lost my mom when I was 5, and I grew through people helping me, people holding my hand. It was today it's my uncle, tomorrow it's my cousin, tomorrow it's my niece, the other day it's my grandfather. When I did my driving school, my grandfather gave me his entire savings for me to join driving school because he believed that I'm going to go to Nairobi and come back with a car.
Yeah.
So it's been people holding my hand all along. It's the one thing I don't talk about, but it's been people holding my hand. And how I've translated that, I'm 26 now?
You're like in the first cohort of Gen Z.
No, second, wait.
Really?
Yeah, I think 27 because I'm
Are
1998.
you
The first
talking?
one is
Am
97.
am I in the first cohort?
You're the first cohort. Please.
Okay. Yeah.
What did I want to say? I have celebrated my last 11 birthdays at children's homes because I know what it means to not have parents.
Yeah.
It's not me pretending that maybe an orphan needs shoes. It's because I know there's a time a shoe was something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been privileged enough to meet people who've taken me abroad locally. I've gone to private schools all my entire life apart from high school. So I know what it means to lack. But I think lack is a facade, yeah. I know what it means to have people helping you. I know what it means to have somebody tell you, by the way, leo usilipe fee nitakulipia.
Yeah.
By the way, uko na school fees. And at times I make it very intentional and I ask people, what do you want today? And I'm starting to realize I can't run away from fame.
You're going to be so famous.
I'm starting to realize, but I've been running away from it the last 3 years. And the reason I've been running away from fame is one reason. I don't want you to treat me a type away because you know who I am. I want to know you as Obam. Like,
Yeah.
what do you actually believe in? What makes you wake up in the morning? Who are you? And what help do you need?
There are very few people who ever sit back and reflect on their life and realize that lots of people have actually held my hand.
Yeah.
Because many people, they forget about it. They make a few, a million or two, then they're just splashing it around, like. So it's very interesting to hear from somebody like you that Could that be actually your why? Why you do all these
Yeah, that's
things
my
that
why.
you do?
That's my only why. People have held my hand. It's my time to help, and I'll attribute, for example, my Startinev success to my people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have 4 co-founders and 4 board members, and I'll mention them because they've built me to where I am. Yeah, and I mean, at times I ask myself, why did you, like, you had so many other vinyangarikas you could have helped and you chose me, You had so many other young people around who are doing, I'm not the only person doing great things. There are other people doing bigger things than I do. I have such a good team, man, like, I would kill for my team.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think I would.
I should join that team so that somebody can kill for me.
I think I would, and I don't treat them as I mean, it's a very unbalanced world. So at times you're forced to see them as employees, but I genuinely don't want to. I see them as my friends.
I mean, given the level of your work ethic, how do you even get to choose who you work with? What are some of the irreducible minimums, or when your criteria for the kind of people you choose to be around you? Because I know most of them are actually your friends. I mean, you're one of those people who you have, people in your team who are your staff member, really staff members, but they are actually your friends. And it's very hard to. I don't know if you find it hard, but I don't know, maybe people find it hard to work with their friends, mixing business and friendship. There's a very thin line there. But what are your irreducible minimums for somebody to join your team?
They don't exist. I've somehow, I don't know. Have I had to choose? I don't think I've at any point I've had to choose.
Is it normally intuitive? You'd meet a person and you'd be like,
It's
this is a
all the
person I
people
would.
I have has been very interesting ways. I've never had to go look out for somebody to hire. It's always been very supernatural. Yeah, very supernatural.
Wow. That's interesting to get from from you. Uh, let's finish with Startinev and Attic so that we could jump onto a different other conversation. What's your dream for Attic?
My dream for Attic, I want as many people to know that a space that is safe enough for them to learn, to grow, to connect exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the dream you have, that you anyone who thinks that they have the smallest idea can actually get a community of like-minded, because one of the things you do quite well is building community.
And you know, it's because people think that ideas are small. Man, ideas are not small. If I told people what I was trying to achieve with Startinev in 2020, people would think that I'm just another young boy who's graduated, who's looking for a job. Here we are, yeah. And I think it's because I really believe in the power of people, what people can be, what people can do, and how beautiful that can turn out to be. When you
Yeah.
give people the ability to be themselves and to exist and to jump when they are supposed to jump, to sit when they're supposed to sit. But I think at the very bottom line of it is for somebody who's not really existed in, I've not had for most kids, you have your mother and your father, they decide what you do until you're 18. When you
Yeah.
enter campus, they still somehow decide. For a kid who has had so much freedom, unluckily because of lack of parents, if there's a word like that, I think I know what it means to have a community to belong to. And I think that's what I want Attic to be, a community where any entrepreneur can go and say, I have a home.
Yeah.
Come rain, come sunshine, I can go there. Nobody will judge me. Somebody will support my business. Somebody will say, your idea is good. But also, somebody will say, your idea is bad, but they'll say it with so much grace. Yeah.
And just still on Startinev, you've done some really cool events. You've had some really, really big partnerships. What are some of the big projects you've done with Startinev that you never thought you'd ever do?
I'll talk about the Italian embassy for this one.
Okay.
And life, again, I think I'll say this a million times over. Life is a full circle moment. I got a LinkedIn DM from an organization called Startup Africa Road Trip. Hey, Innocent, my name is Lorenzo. I'm from Italy. We run a program in Kenya where we support entrepreneurs. We see what you do with Startinev, so we'd want to work on this with you. I was like, why not? Let's work on it together. So we will pay you for the service you offer. You'll manage the event in Kenya. You'll provide videography, photography, a few things. Tell me why the main partner for that event was the Embassy of Italy.
Really?
Yeah. We did edition 1. They came back for edition 2 and took us to Rwanda to run the event. I mean, they had an option of, you can't tell me there's nobody who runs events in
Yeah, yeah,
Rwanda.
yeah, yeah.
They paid everything. We went to Rwanda for a whole week. Again, the Embassy of Italy. So this was the Embassy of Italy in Kenya. Now this is the Embassy of Italy in Uganda.
Wow.
Such a full circle moment. Because I try to connect my going to Italy and my working with the Embassy of Italy, and somehow I don't see it. But somehow it happened so well. That's number one. Number two, Running the Nairobi Startup Week with Giuliani. Man, it's somebody you've dreamt of
Yeah.
being the untouchable.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a celebrity in his own rights, yeah. And we did Nairobi Startup Week with him for 4,000 capacity expo at the waterfront.
And it was packed.
It
It
was
was
my
all sold out.
it was my first big event.
Really?
So and we did it so well during the day. During the day, it's a summit. At night, it's a concert.
Wow.
Man, it was I don't
Now,
know.
Innocent, you know, one of the things that people don't understand is that you've done all these things, and we have to be totally honest. You're very, very, very young. Are there those instances that sometimes you feel that, you know what, I'm unworthy, I'm not able to do this? And if there are those, or even you feel like this, I'm an imposter here. And if there are those instances, how do you overcome them? I mean, this is to the young people who maybe, have really, really wanted to do something, but there is just that one thing holding them back. I remember this morning at the event at Attic, this guy who came gave the story of Cortez. You ban the sheep. We're going to war. We can't be like, you know what? Oh, my ears are normally very black, so me I can't be in front of people. I mean, so are there those instances that you felt like an imposter, or you've been afraid, and how do you actually how have you overcome them?
Yeah, a lot of my friends hate it when I say it this way, but the number of times I've overcome that feeling is because I don't want my friends to not have something because I'm not there. So every time I've thought of, I won't lie, suicide. Every time I've thought of giving up is I care about my friends a bit too much. I want to be there for them when they need me.
Those are the people who've always been there. I mean, you talk so highly of your friends. I mean, they must be very, very lucky. Now, Innocent, I want us to wrap this up, but we cannot wrap it up before we talk about the current situation in our country. I saw you were on the front line,
Wewe wachana maneno ya front line.
giving people water, saying that, guys, me, I can't fight, but here is water. At least this is the best I can do. What do you think, I mean, about young people who have decided that, you know what, we can't sit back and watch?
Keep fighting, guys. Like, they can say we are using our iPhones, our Ubers. They can say we are eating KFC. We will eat KFC and make sure corruption ends in this country.
Yeah.
We will use Ubers and make sure corruption ends.
What do you think is actually the root problem?
The root problem is corruption. And I don't know what other young people feel, but Obama, if today I'm making my million Kenya shillings and the government asks for their 16%,
No, I mean, if you make $1 million, they'll
I
ask
don't
for
mind
30,
paying it.
35%. Yeah.
I mean, even if you ask for 50%, like other countries, I'm not saying you ask for 50%. All I'm saying is the current rate of taxation, for example, at about 30%, it's about, let me say, between 16% and 30%, depending on the caliber you're at, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you tell me, out of my 1 million, the 160,000 was used to construct a road. I actually really don't mind.
Yeah.
But when you tell me my 160,000 bought you a belt, you're mad.
Yeah. So it's corruption, and it comes out with different faces because
Yes, and especially when the people you choose really put it on your face. Like,
But now you're talking about that being a problem, but don't you think we are the problem in the sense that we are the ones who actually put those leaders in those positions? I mean, anytime we have 5 years to actually change our leaders, but then we put the same, because it's the same faces. I mean, I've not been alive for so long, but it's actually the same faces who are there.
yeah, we don't know any better. And now God has presented us with a chance to know any better. Let me tell you, 2027, too many young people will be voting. We put them there by not voting, but what I'm saying is I think we haven't had enough education of how much politicians influence our lives. I think it's always been a politician is just a politician. He's just some other guy chilling. He's just some other guy driving a big car who, if they ring their siren, you're supposed to run away from the road and let them pass. I think we're starting to realize that they work for us. That's number one. While they work for us, it's us to decide how they work for us. If I pay you to make my roads, please make my roads. And if you don't make my roads, I'll get somebody better to make my roads.
Will you encourage young people to actually vie for these positions? Because I think it's only the president that we have an age gap. I don't know. I think maybe you need to be like 35 to be. You have a few more years before you become president. If that's the case, I'm not so sure.
I don't think I will, but okay.
Do you think that actually young people should go ahead and, take some of these positions, or should they just let the older generation take the positions and then be the watchdogs?
Maybe I'm entering my prophetic era, but just watch. 2027, I think there'll be so many young people on that ballot. But then I think the funny thing is, we did it in 2022 where we put in a few young people. Man, look at them.
Yeah. They get there and they forget.
They forget. They totally
Do you think
forget.
that actually money, to some extent,
Yes.
makes people go mad or like forget?
No, I think it's not money. I think it's power.
Ah,
I don't think it's money. I think it's power.
yeah.
Because I'm sure there are people at between 30 and 40 who are way richer than most of our politicians. But because they don't have power, I think it's power. The fact that I can come out and shoot at you and
Nothing happens.
cares. I ran you. I think that's the change we want to see. We want to stop. I ran you to you work for me. Whatever I say and whatever I deserve is what I get. Because the reason other countries work is because there's some very high levels of accountability. I really wish and pray that we get more young people in places of power, but I also really, really, really wish and pray that we don't make it about age, but we make it about the system working for us.
Yeah, because we've seen young people actually can do lots of great things.
Yeah.
So it's not an age thing.
Yeah.
It's a mentality kind of thing. It's about the hard work that you want to put in,
Yeah.
and obviously at the end of the day, it's how much you care
Yeah.
for the people who you've been tasked to
Work for.
work for. Now, this is gonna be like my second last before I stop disturbing you. I was with a guy who most probably, it seems like you've contracted him to, whenever he sees a good cloth, to tell you, "Hi, Innocent, you don't buy clothes. You don't, you are super modest." In that sense, if I don't want to use the word humble, because most people will be like, yeah. You're very, very modest. Is it because you don't really care about material things?
So first, my clothes story is attributed to a fallacy that our education system gave us, that Mark Zuckerberg wears jeans and t-shirts and he's okay. Guys, let me tell you. So that has changed a lot.
Nowadays, I can see you have a few clothes. You used to have
Wewe
maybe
wacha
two
kusema
t-shirts.
niko na manguo, eh.
You used to have two t-shirts, now you have a little bit more, which is okay. Makofi kwako. Anyway, we need to wrap up, Innocent. I have really, really enjoyed having you as my guest today. I would definitely want to have you back, because there are quite a number of stories we haven't
Yeah.
spoken about. It's good for somebody who's looking into, has an idea and they want to come up with a prototype at the end, like what exactly should they do. So maybe that one can be a technical one and all that. But today was, I really, really enjoyed your story. It's a story which I don't think most people have heard about.
Very less than 20.
So thanks a lot for having opened up on the Young and Daring. So I really appreciate that. What's your parting shot for everyone who is young but they're still afraid? What would you tell them? This is Young and Daring. We need young people who are audacious, people who won't think twice before they do the right thing. If it's the right thing, you go for it. What do you have to tell such kind of young people?
You don't know what you don't know. Go figure it out. I think my wanting to figure out a lot of things put me in spaces where other doors were opened. Wanting to do an internship at my own company, you're there, so this is how things work. I think a lot of fear is because we don't know what we are getting into, but you don't know what you don't know. Jump into it, you never know. It could be the most beautiful thing, could be the dirtiest thing. But even if it was the dirtiest, it gives you lessons that would stick for life. I have failed a million times. My story could look like, hey, kijana amepitia very nice lives, yeah.
Okay, great. So at the end of this, I have some quick fire questions. You're
Oh my
allowed to
God.
only answer them in less than 7 words. Less than 7 words.
Okay.
Okay? So then the first question, those who dream big, complete the sentence.
Oh my God.
Those
Ni
who
proverb,
dream
ngoja.
big, no, it's not a proverb. It's you just completing
I
the, yeah,
complete.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hey. Answer, start again.
Those who dream big,
Achieve big.
achieve big. Wow, that's quite interesting because I think it's the truth. Okay. Then before you leave the house, what's the last thing you normally do?
Switch off the TV.
Your TV is always on.
You are there, it's always on.
Okay. Would you rather invest in an expensive computer or an expensive mobile phone?
Mobile phone any day. I mean, hata saisi na laptop lakini niko na iPhone 15.
Yeah. Did you have to say that? Okay. Now that we are there now, what is the one thing you'd like to achieve with Startinev that you haven't achieved yet?
I want to provide employment to 1 million young people.
7 words or less.
Hey, employ 1 million young people and invest in them.
Okay, employ 1 million young people and invest in them. Okay, it's really cool to hear that. So, are you, we were both in Strathmore. Jeans or chinos, khaki?
Khakis. Chinos.
Strathmore has never, really.
I know.
Okay, great. So I think that's really it for today. Thanks a lot for being here. And thanks a lot, viewers, for... why am I calling you viewers? This is going to be a huge community. Thanks a lot for listening in and enjoying the conversation till the end. Till next time, I'm your host, Thomas Obam. Bye-bye. Adios.